Hi, I'm Asif Farouk of Finextra. We're here at Mobi Day 2013 in Barcelona. I'm joined by Erik Holst-Roness of Swift. Thanks for joining us. Now, Mpos has been a real talking point at this year's Mobi Day. Everyone's talking about it. Can you just tell us why it's such a big deal?
I think when the Mpos first came up as an idea, it was people were looking at it as something that was interesting and new, and maybe just a fad, maybe just a fashion. What's happened now is that it's actually touching a much greater range of merchants, and where people have been looking for a mobile payment solution that was finally going to drive some momentum, it's actually Mpos which has attracted the interest of the merchants, and that is becoming an interesting play with consumers as well. Therefore bringing in the entire network, including the banks and the Visa and MasterCards of this world into the whole play.
Now, everyone thinks Mpos is about the mini merchant, but what's been your experience?
Well, in our experience, and we have integrated with, I think, 39 banks we've reached now in areas as far away as Russia and Mexico, and a lot of activity around Southeast Asia. And we found there that actually the large enterprise is getting involved in mobile point of sale for two clear and distinct reasons. One is improved customer service. If you think about a hotel where you can check out at breakfast, where somebody passes an iPad to you while you're drinking your coffee and eating your croissant, and you can check your bill and make your payment without any queuing, that's something that is going to stay. That's not something that's going to go away, because people like to actually sit down and queue before they check out at a hotel. And then you find really big enterprises, the Coca-Colas and the insurance companies, who are moving their whole interaction with their own B2B and B2C business processes are being absorbed into Mpos, because Mpos allows them to close the deal then and there, and it reduces the delay, in the case of insurance companies, of waiting for those payments to arrive.
How do you think banks are dealing with payment aggregators like Square and iZettle?
So that's really a question that's related to the markets. In the more developed markets, in the US and Europe, there's been a much slower reaction from the acquiring banks to get involved in mobile point of sale, but mainly because there's such a large investment in infrastructure already. In the markets where the infrastructure does not exist to the same extent, in Indonesia or in Africa or even in Russia, you'll find that the banks are moving much more quickly because this is a core part of their business, and a core part of the business they're not willing to let go to a third party.
And finally, what advice would you offer banks who want to benefit from the mobile revolution?
Well, I think that's also brings up an interesting challenge, because mobile POS opens up the opportunity for both banks and for mobile network operators. And for once, the banks have actually been faster into the market than the mobile network operators. But the mobile network operators also understand this category of merchant, consumer becoming a merchant, who they are much more accustomed to dealing with in terms of small transactions. And once the mobile network operators embrace mobile point of sale, there'll be an interesting change of dynamics and a challenge both for the banks and the mobile operators to determine how they will interact going forward. So the recommendation is for acquiring banks is that it's time to actually embrace and get involved in this, because mobile point of sale is here to stay.